Welcome back to Shoot the Shot, an NBA and variety show. It is September 30th, 2021. As always, I am joined by my co-host, Luke Sylvia. Luke, what's going on, man? How are you?
Doing well, man. Doing well. We are creeping up here on preseason beginning. I'm pumped. We're only days away from it. So,
Luke, I wanted to ask you something really quickly. Were you aware of the fact that I love Shirley Temples?
No, I didn't know that.
Can't get enough. Shirley Temple, just a little bit of Sprite, some ginger ale, some grenadine. You're good to go. Non-alcoholic, obviously. I do enjoy a nice alcoholic beverage from time to time. Because it's a Shirley Temple. Like, people hear Shirley Temples and they're like, oh, man, this kid's drinking a Shirley Temple. What a weirdo. I'm pretty sure Mo Bamba is a big Shirley Temple guy as well.
Wow, that's what you get, guys, when it's a Magic, podcast. Typically, you come here and we have Mo Bamba facts for you. Shirley Temples.
You learn something new every day. But yeah, Luke. So this week we had a few different days, but we had media day this week. A lot of stuff happened. A lot of fun stuff. Some controversial stuff. Mainly, there's a decent amount of players that have decided to go unvaccinated, and if you're in Brooklyn or New York or San Francisco, that's really going to impact your team. But guys like Jonathan Isaac, Bradley Beal, Kyrie Irving, Michael Porter Jr., Andrew Wiggins, I think those are a few of the most notable guys. We're not really going to get too much into what we think about the vaccine and everything like that. We did a whole episode this past Monday. If you guys want to go check that out, we did that for the 6-Man show where we talked about Jonathan Isaac and his decision and everything like that. So if you guys want to hear what we have to say about the vaccine stuff, feel free to go ahead and check out that episode. But other than that, guys, the NBA season is literally upon us. Preseason is about to start next week. And then just over 3 weeks from now, we're going to have the start of the NBA season. So Luke and I, we wanted to talk about the storylines that we're most excited for, most interested in, really going into this season. So Luke, do you want to start it off? What's one of the things that you're most interested in going into this season?
Yeah, so I think the first thing, it's probably something a lot of people are going to be paying attention to as far as storylines for this year. It felt like a kind of a cop-out answer to say it, but I do think that it's one of the more, important storylines this year and will have a big hand in the season. And I think that it's got a lot to do with the Los Angeles Lakers. I think that this year probably starts and finishes with the Lakers in terms of, how they are. I think that, at first people were skeptical as far as bringing Russell Westbrook in, and they said, I don't know how they're going to gel. And then the Lakers slowly started to bring in some shooters, right? So they bring in shooters to surround those guys with. LeBron can play with anybody. I don't think LeBron will have an issue adapting with anybody. And on top of that, one other thing, that these storylines go hand in hand together in terms of the Lakers. Obviously, we want to know if they stay healthy with guys like Dwight joining the roster again, Rajon Rondo. But Anthony Davis, I think that it's no secret that a lot of people wanted Anthony Davis to play center last year a lot more than he did, and thought if Anthony Davis will just accept the role at center, then this team will excel. And he spoke about it in media day. He said, you'll be getting some looks of me playing center, which is good to hear him say. He's at least seeming like he's maybe accepting that role a little bit for himself. And so that's another storyline too. It's just Anthony Davis in general. Those go hand in hand, obviously. But, I think all that will kind of gel together and let us know how the Lakers season really pans out for him.
I don't know that I'm buying the Anthony Davis at center thing, just because we've heard him say things like this in the past, like, I'll do whatever it takes to win, and then we still hear reports that he wants to be a power forward. He doesn't want to play the center. They brought back Dwight Howard. They brought in DeAndre Jordan. Those guys are probably going to see a fair share amount of minutes at the 5. So in terms of Anthony Davis, actually, you'll see me some at the 5. I'm sure we will. But when it's crunch time, the last 5 minutes of a game, is he really going to, accept that role? And if he does, I'm sure he'll excel at it. But Luke, the thing that I am most interested in really heading into this next season is, can the Golden State Warriors kind of put their hat into the ring as contenders again? So Steph Curry, this year he's 33 years old. Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, they're both 31 years old. We know the last couple of years, Draymond has had some signs of dropping off, if you will, from the level that he was playing at, 4 or 5 years ago when the Warriors and the Cavs were in the finals every single season. Now we talk about Andrew Wiggins. won't get too much into that, but is he going to be able to play in home games if he sticks to his guns and deciding not to become vaccinated? And then Klay Thompson, a guy who's not only coming off of an ACL, but also the Achilles, making his way back from the ACL before last season, tears his Achilles, in a preseason workout pretty much. So I'm going to be really interested in that because, I mean, if you look at the roster, just from a name standpoint, they're really stacked. Steph, Klay, Wiggins, Draymond Green, James Wiseman, the rookies, Jonathan Kuminga, Moses Moody, Kevon Looney, Avery Bradley, Andre Iguodala, Otto Porter. Like, these guys on paper should really be competitive. And I'm excited to hopefully the Warriors are good again. The league is better when the Warriors are good and the Splash Bros are doing their thing.
Yeah. I think that, you'd be hard pressed to find storylines that people are more eager about than the ones that we just mentioned, Jonathan. Another one that I'm, kind of looking forward to seeing how it pans out. Can't stand them, obviously. You hate them even more than I do, but it is the Miami Heat. As far as that goes, man, I mean,
Charlie's Angel. Did you see the Charlie?
Dude,
oh, it was so bad, bro.
It was terrible.
And then Tyler Hero with the tweet or the Instagram post, like, a lot of people slept on me last year. Y'all are about to wake up. Like, all right, we'll see. We'll see about that. But yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So the Heat last year, right, finished 5th in the East. Victor Oladipo, they acquired him. There were people like you and I believe you were on the same belief as I was, that I didn't know that the VO was really going to make a difference in Miami. And unfortunately, even more so, we didn't really get to find out solely because he got injured. So him being added to the roster this year essentially is what it feels like. He's being added to the roster, right? Along with Kyle Lowry. Say what you want about Kyle Lowry. Can't stand the dude. He flops. He injures players. All those sorts of things that Magic fans deal with. All that to say, he's still, even though he's 34, if he's not already 35, he'll be 35 this year. Still averaging 17 and 7 and 5 last year. So I think he'll be a veteran leader who has recently won a championship, and it'll be interesting to kind of see what happens with the Miami Heat if they're able to do better than 5th in the East. I don't know that they can, but if you've got Victor Oladipo, who knows really with him? He is a huge question mark. And then you bring in the leadership of Kyle Lowry alongside Jimmy Butler and Bam. I mean, they've got a pretty good core there going. I don't think they're going to be a contender by any means, but I am interested to see how it pans out for them.
Yeah, Victor Oladipo said at Media Day that he doesn't really have a timetable on when he's coming back. He's hoping that it's soon, but whenever you say we don't have a timetable, that usually means that it's not anytime soon, right? Like, we're really used to that with the Orlando Magic. But, I think Victor Oladipo with Miami Heat is really like the X factor, the big question mark. You kind of know, even at this point in their careers, what you're going to get out of Kyle Lowry and Jimmy Butler. Bam Adebayo, obviously still really good. If Tyler Hero does kind of get back to, the bubble Tyler Hero that we saw
2 years ago, Tyler Hero, yeah.
2 years ago, exactly. But more and more over the past few years, I'm really, kind of getting more into the philosophy that with elite athletes, like, they have a peak, and especially once injuries start to happen, if you come down from that peak, you never really get back to that level. Like, especially when we talk about, like, fantasy football and we talk about, like, running backs. It seems like these running backs, these monsters have, like, 2, 3, 4, like, really, really good years. And then as soon as they drop down from that peak, they never get back to that. You look at a guy like David Johnson. Few years ago was like the number 1 pick in all of the NFL drafts, ended up messing up his wrist, and has just never gotten back to that. We saw that the same thing happen with Chris Johnson, CGA 2K, Jamal Charles, LaShawn McCoy, Adrian Peterson, and now I'm starting to kind of adopt that for NBA players. Like a guy like Derrick Rose, who we saw at the mountaintop, won the MVP, like 10, 11 years ago. Obviously has dealt with a lot of injuries, as he's a good NBA player, but he's definitely not at that same level. And the same thing now with Victor Oladipo. Obviously, he was, I believe, 2, 3-time All-Star in Indiana. Ruptured the quad and is now having this kind of reoccurring issue, it seems like. And I don't think that he's going to be able to get back to that level. It's just something that you see over and over and over again. Especially when guys are at the the top of their game in their respective league. Like Victor Oladipo was a multi-time All-Star. It doesn't get any better than that, unless you're, a guy like LeBron or Giannis or whatever, which I don't think anyone would say about Victor Oladipo, but it will be interesting to see how the Heat do. I'm hoping they suck, but that's my own business. Luke, the next thing that I'm really interested to see is a team that obviously for a lot of reasons is being overlooked now, and that's the reigning champion Milwaukee Bucks. Obviously, they won the title last year, bringing most of that squad back. But because a lot of the reasons that people questioned kind of the legitimacy of that title at the time, injuries to Kawhi Leonard, to LeBron James and Anthony Davis, Kyrie Irving, James Harden, like they were like 6 inches away, not even 6 inches, like maybe 3 inches away from a Kevin Durant 2-point field goal being a 3-point field goal, and that series is probably over at that point. So I feel like the Milwaukee Bucks are really being overlooked this year, and maybe even deservedly so. But like they're the NBA champs, they're the champs until they're not. So I think Giannis has still another level to get to. A lot of people, including myself, questioned last year and early in the playoffs, if he could ever be the best player on a championship team, if Chris Middleton could ever be the second best player and be like the crunch time Batman on a championship team. And those guys proved me wrong last year. They did both of those things. So I'm excited to see what the Milwaukee Bucks do this season.
Yeah, and then I think my last one of the things that I'll list, at least there's a lot of things obviously that I'm looking forward to, and we could go on and on about it, but my last one, Jonathan, is a guy who's 36 now, and he played a huge part in the Suns making the finals last year. And obviously I'm talking about Chris Paul. I mean, Chris Paul is a guy that's slated to make 30 mil, 28.4, then 30.8. He's got non-guaranteed when he's 39 at 30 million, and he's an unrestricted free agent at age 40, which I'm assuming he will be done after his contract plays out here. But he is still Chris Paul. I mean, this is a guy who it has fallen off, obviously, from this time with the Clippers, where he was averaging, whatever it was, like 20 and 11. But now, you look at it last year, he takes them to the NBA Finals. He's, averaging 16, 9, and 5 almost. And he's 35. So I'm really interested to see if we see a decline this year in Chris Paul. It's kind of like LeBron in the fact that I don't know when that drop off is going to happen. But Chris Paul, man, if he can stay healthy, he is one of the most, if not the most influential piece, and kind of what the Suns are kind of riding on this year is CP3's health. I mean, he's getting older. He has that injury bug in the postseason, obviously. Hopefully he stays healthy, but that's kind of one of the storylines I'll be looking at in terms of an individual player is Chris Paul.
So I do think that Chris Paul is going to take a little bit of a decline this year, but I expect Devin Booker to go up another level.
Right.
Like I think that finals experience, and like we saw him just doing cats dirty in the postseason. And I think that experience and his confidence is going to grow. And I think we see a different Devin Booker this year. I think he's going to be better than ever. When we talk about LeBron James, it's funny. 36 years old. He's going to be 37, December 30th. So we're almost to the point, Luke, where LeBron James has been in the NBA longer than he hasn't, which is really crazy to think about. A guy that's going to be 37 years old. It's going to be, interesting to see what happens with Chris Paul and also LeBron James. And Luke, when we were, decided to, kind of do this segment on the show, I was really nervous. I'm like, there's probably got to be some overlap between the two of us, right? And I'm glad to say that there isn't. So my third and final thing that I'm really excited for this season, one of my favorite young players in the league to watch, Michael Porter Jr. So Michael Porter Jr. just signed a 5-year, $172 million maximum rookie scale contract extension with the Denver Nuggets. This is right from Spotrac. I know there were some larger numbers originally reported, but I think Spotrac is like the go-to most reliable source when it comes to this kind of contract stuff. So I'm going off of that. But Michael Porter Jr., this is, I believe, is going to be his fourth year in the league, if I'm not mistaken, or third year in the league. I really can't remember right now. But a big piece of that team, Jamal Murray, went down, halfway through April last year. And if Denver is, going to have hopes of making the playoffs and, really being in contention when Jamal Murray comes back at some point this year, it's really going to come down to how good Michael Porter Jr. is going to be able to be. How big of a leap is he going to be able to make? And just to give you some reference, last year, 17 games that he played without Jamal Murray in the regular season averaged 23.5 points per game. He shot 56% from the floor, 48.9% from the three-point line on almost 8 attempts a game, 6 rebounds, and 1.5 assists. I mean, it does not get more efficient than that for a wing player, and I only expect his volume to go up. I don't know if his efficiency is going to stay quite at that type of level. Like that's like, Steph Curry, like 2015, 2016 range, like 50, 90 pretty much that he shot that year. Now, Michael Porter Jr., MPJ at 85% from the free throw line, so I'm not comparing him to Steph Curry, but I think the volume is going to go up a bit more because Denver is going to ask even more of him this year. They just signed Aaron Gordon also to a large extension, and people are talking about how great Aaron Gordon has looked in open runs. Sorry, Denver fans. Been there, done that, worn that T-shirt. We'll see what happens. I wish the best for Aaron, but I wouldn't get too excited about that if I was a Denver Nuggets fan. But Michael Porter Jr., I think this kid is one of the most talented young players in the league. I really hope he does well. Hope he has a great season. I hope Denver is in contention when Jamal Murray is able to come back at some point this year, Luke.
Yeah, and that's the big thing, right? I mean, Denver caught a lot of flack for MPJ's extension, right? But I think at this point, man, I mean, you're throwing out money to, AG is getting money. You've got, Jamal, obviously, and, you've got Joker, all of those guys. At this point, man, they're just pushing their chips all into the middle of the table, and they're saying we're all in on this team that we've got. And MPJ is going to play a huge role in that. I mean, you look at MPJ just a few years ago. This is going to be his fourth season technically in the NBA, but he did sit out that 1 year with his back injury, which obviously made him fall to 14 in the draft. I mean, there's already a lot of teams that went picked before that are thinking, man, did we mess up and not just waiting on
Orlando
MPJ?
Magic could really use Michael Porter Jr. right now.
So
honestly,
MPJ, man, they're paying him for what he can become. They're paying for his potential right now. Obviously, right now he might not be worth that much, but 2 years down the road, when Denver has these guys still intact and they're keeping their guys on the roster year after year, their continuity is growing. I think that you could see Denver being a championship team in 2 to 3 seasons from now. And I think that you'll be able to look back and be like, man, it's a good thing they locked in that young core while they did, and those core guys that they really believed in while they did. I don't think there's really a price that you can put on that, especially a guy like MPJ, man. I mean, you weren't going to let him just walk because you weren't going to give him that much money. So you had to lock it in. They were put in a tough spot, but I really don't think it was that tough in the end because I do think that Denver will be, a serious contender in a couple years from now.
I think so too, and I think MPJ is just as talented as almost any young player in the league. So I think the sky is the limit, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what MPJ is going to do this season. All right, Luke, let's talk some college bets. So how did you do last week, and what we got going on this week?
So last weekend we'll do college first, and then we'll get into NFL, and I'll let you take the reins there to start. But
complete disaster. I'll start it and end it right there. It's complete disaster. I'm done with teasers. I'm done with parlays. Just single games for me here on out. We'll get that out of the way. We don't have to bring up my NBA betting last week.
Yeah. So last week in college, it was terrible for me. In terms of
we've had great weekends. I love it.
Yeah. So I had Liberty -6 against Syracuse. They did not cover the spread. And then Tennessee, I had them +20 against Florida. It looked like it was going to go that way for pretty much the whole game. And Florida kind of turned on the burners and was able to cover the spread against Tennessee. So I did go 0-2 last week. Still this year, on the year for the picks I've given out on Shoot the Shot, I'm 5-4-1. So still got a winning record there. Jonathan, I know you said it was bad, but how bad was NFL last week? And then I'll kind of get into my college picks here.
I mean, I really just got pretty unlucky. Let me go ahead and pull up the record here. So I don't have my exact record, but basically like last second Dolphin touchdown, that kind of screwed me. The Bucks, basically getting the pants beat off of them, that really hurt me. I had them in a parlay with the Packers. And then Giants Falcons, the over-under was 48 points. Going into the week, they were two of the, I think, bottom 7 defenses in the league. The Giants were giving up 28.5 points per game. The Falcons were giving up 40. So I was like, okay, both these defenses suck. It's really just gonna be a shootout. And then I forgot that, oh wow, both these offenses also suck. So that was really depressing. I was actually at the Giants game. It was my first time ever at MetLife. Flew up, went to the game with my brothers. We had great seats. People have talked crap about MetLife Stadium. I thought it was a beautiful stadium. The field was incredible. I got to see the whole halftime ceremony with Eli Manning. The owner of the Giants, John Mara, got booed, which was awesome as well. And apart from the outcome, I really had a great time. But yeah, that over/under, really stung me last week.
Yeah. So before we get into our NFL picks real quickly here, I will kind of give out my college picks for this week. First one that I'm going to that I've already locked in is Michigan +2 versus Wisconsin. I think Wisconsin is bad. I don't trust their quarterback, Graham Mertz, in the slightest. Wisconsin scored 23 points in 2 games this year against Penn State and Notre Dame. Michigan is going to be even more suffocating, I think, and Michigan should clamp them defensively, I think, and so I'm going to go Michigan +2. And then the other game that I'm going to go and kind of give out here is UCLA -3 against Arizona State. Herm Edwards, Arizona State Sun Devils. They are the most penalized team in the league. 43 penalties so far through 4 games. So not great for that team. I don't think that'll be able to withstand UCLA.
Is that their conference or the country?
Country. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the most penalized team in the country. So so they're pretty bad when it comes to being disciplined. So UCLA -3. They didn't know if Dorian Thompson-Robinson was going to be able to play, the quarterback for UCLA, but they said that it looks like he's going to be ready to go. He's thrown 9 touchdowns and 1 interception so far this year through the games that he's played. I think it's kind of a no-brainer for me, and so that I'm going to go UCLA -3, and like I said, Michigan +2 against Wisconsin.
All right, we will take a quick break, and then when we come back, we will get into our NFL bets. Guys, autumn is in the air, the pumpkins are in the patch, and our friends at Manscaped are here to make sure you don't carve your pants pumpkins when you're grooming, if you know what I'm saying. Make sure you're keeping things fresh this fall with the leaders in male grooming and their brand new 4th generation performance package. Boys, get ready for a cuffing season like no other. Ready to take the leap into fall with Manscaped? Join the 2 million men worldwide using Manscaped by going to Manscaped for 20% off plus free shipping with the code SIXTH. That's SIXTH, manscaped.com.
First off, the new Performance Package 4.0 includes the new Lawnmower 4.0. If you're looking to cozy up this fall, this trimmer is essential. Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. It also gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. Plus, it's waterproof. Seal the deal with Manscaped's liquid formulations, the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant. Everyone knows pumpkin spice lattes and ball deodorant go hand in hand.
Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code SIXTH at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code SIXTH. That's SIXTH at manscaped.com. Make your balls a priority this fall. Choose Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. All right, Luke, what you got for NFL bets this week?
Yeah, so I've got the Bucks -7 against the Patriots. I'm probably going to buy down 0.5 point to get that 6.5 there. Obviously, Patriots are going to be down James White at running back. Antonio Brown will be in the lineup for Tampa Bay. If the spread was more than 7, I would probably shy away from the game. I don't know that I would bet the Patriots in that instance. Obviously, Belichick's going to try to throw some weird looks at Brady and everything like that, like you think he would defensively. I don't think it'll matter. Mac Jones coming off a game where he threw 3 interceptions against the Saints. I just don't see a world where they're able to keep up. I think that in the first half it could be close. There's going to be a lot of adrenaline in that game. Brady versus Belichick. It's what's being advertised everywhere. Did you see that, by the way? The Adele promo? The hello
not.
From... Dude, it was during one of the games that I was watching. But it was during one of those games. They did an Adele hello from the other side. And it was a Brady and Belichick little mashup there, and it's just like
they were coach and player. They weren't lovers, folks.
Yeah.
It's not that deep.
you would think, and I mean they
didn't really seem to like each other all that much personally. So
yeah.
I mean, at least not towards the end. But Patriots fans will tell you otherwise. Trust me.
So yeah.
They loved each other. They were like brothers.
I'm gonna go. And like I said in that game, Bucks -7. I'll probably buy it 0.5 point to 6.5, and then I am going to go Ravens +1 against the Denver Broncos. For me, I don't know that the 3-0 Broncos are really the real deal. I really don't know at all, and I just think that Baltimore, giving them +1. I mean, I know that the game is at Denver, but there's really not too much of an explanation for me. I just think Baltimore is the better team, and that's why I'm just going to take them +1 here and not overthink it.
All right, so I think that's a good place to start, Luke. So I'm also taking Baltimore +1. We're going to do like our contenders and pretenders of the undefeateds in just a few moments here, but me taking the Ravens, I think you can guess what side I think the Broncos fall on. They're 3 wins. I mean, let's just go through this really quickly. The Giants, the Jaguars, and the Jets. 3 of the maybe worst 5 teams in the NFL. So I'm not impressed with any of the wins that the Broncos have had. I wasn't impressed watching them play my Giants. And the Ravens, just a couple weeks ago beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs are still kind of finding their way this season, but yeah, I'm taking the Ravens +1, over the Broncos, and then I've got the Dallas Cowboys -4.5 over the Carolina Panthers. I know the Panthers have been one of the best defenses in the league this year, but same thing. You look at their schedule, they've beaten 3 pretty bad teams: the Jets, the Saints, and the Texans. I'm not buying into the hype so far. Dallas looked really, really good on Monday night against the Eagles. It seems like they found something in the running game again. With Zeke, he started to look like his old self. And then Dak Prescott. I mean, I'm not a Cowboys fan whatsoever, but the kid is really freaking good. So yeah, I like the Cowboys in Dallas. -4.5 against the Panthers. And then the opposite of that Monday night game, the Kansas City Chiefs. I've got them -7 versus the Eagles. I might buy down 0.5 point and get them -6.5 like you are with the Bucks. But the Eagles, I just feel like are really bad. I don't feel like Jalen Hurts is good. And it feels like at some point the Chiefs are going to get it going. And I feel like this is the type of team that you can beat up on, get some of that confidence and swagger back, and get their season back on track. So yeah, I've got the Chiefs. I'm going to try to get them -6.5 over the Eagles in Philadelphia. How do you feel about those? Any objections there? Are you feeling good about my picks or what? I need some wins this week. So
I mean they sound good to me. You convinced me, So maybe we'll jump on board there.
I feel like my picks have been very convincing. I'm just like, that's the whole thing about gambling, is it just has not been happening, and I'm hemorrhaging money from my account at this point. Luckily, it's been quite a while since I've had to make a deposit from my actual bank account, so the wife's not too upset. But a few more weeks, like the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to have to be pulling from the piggy bank. Sorry, kids, no ice cream this week. Daddy needs to gamble. So we'll see what happens there, Luke. But let's talk our contenders and pretenders from the NFL. So right now in the NFL, there are 5 undefeated teams left, sitting at 3-0. Luke, we've got the Las Vegas Raiders, the Los Angeles Rams, Carolina Panthers, Denver Broncos, and the Arizona Cardinals. Why don't you go first? Who are your contenders and your pretenders?
Yeah, sorry, I'm grabbing my my standings again here. So real quick, maybe we just kind of list ours out, Jonathan, and then we can get into kind of the meat and potatoes of it all. But for me, man, I think as far as going down this list here, first and foremost, the Rams for me, I think that they are contenders. I think that Matthew Stafford has slid into this role at quarterback for the Rams and has been incredible. Cooper Kupp has come alive, and people still don't have an answer for him. I was listening to Upsets and Underdogs, which is a Blue Wire podcast. Nick Diaz, a buddy of mine, hosts that with Will Blackman, and they were kind of talking about the Rams, and he was saying, Nick made a good point, and it's, Cooper Kupp seems like he came with Stafford. Like they are just
Right.
going together really well right now. And it doesn't seem like they've really missed a beat at all. They're 3-0 with a brand new quarterback. Obviously Stafford's a good quarterback, but he just fits the system really well. And so I think for me, I know I got into a bit of an explanation there, obviously, but the Rams for me are definitely labeled contenders for me. I'll go through the other ones pretty quickly here, and then we'll get into it. Cardinals, contenders. Broncos, pretenders. Carolina, pretenders. Raiders, contenders.
So right now, Luke, Cooper Kupp is leading the entire league in receiving yards. He's tied with receptions, and he's leading the league in touchdowns. So, I mean, as much as Matt Stafford has been thrust into the MVP conversation with his early play and just how great the Rams have looked and how great they looked, last week against the Bucks. I mean, Cooper Kupp, I mean, he's having the best season out of any wide receiver in the league. And it's not that he's the most athletic guy. Like whenever we talk about white receivers, it's always he's deceptively quick or he's a locker room guy. He's a real winner. Those are kind of the adjectives that we use with these white wide receivers. But Cooper Kupp, really just, I don't know if it's his footwork or just his ability to run routes, but it's every single time you have the view of the game, you see Stafford drop back, throw the ball goes across your screen, and then all of a sudden you're looking at Cooper Kupp wide open. It's what the hell is going on? Are we watching the same games the last few weeks? This is a guy that, needs to be doubled, if not, triple teamed at this point. The first 2 weeks of fantasy I went against him, kicked my butt both weeks. So, yeah, I've got the Rams as a contender. Panthers, Broncos, I've got them both as pretenders. The Cardinals, I do think they're contenders. They've got one of the best point differentials in the league so far, obviously, as well as the Broncos. The Broncos are actually tied with Buffalo for the best point differential in the league. But again, because of the teams that they've played, not really sold. The Raiders are the one team that I'm just not sure about. The Raiders, I feel like, especially in the Derek Carr era, they've looked great early on in the season, and then at just some point the wheels come off, just kind of in classic Raiders fashion. My entire life, the Raiders just have not been good, other than making the Super Bowl in 2002. But they beat the Ravens, they beat the Steelers, two teams that I'm not exactly sure are good. And then they just barely beat the Dolphins this week. They've got the Chargers coming up this week, so that's going to be pretty interesting to see those two teams go at it. Justin Herbert, one of my favorite young quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't know. I would say the Raiders are the team that I'm not really sure on. I've got the Rams, the Cardinals as contenders, and then the Broncos and the Panthers as pretenders. I'm just not real sure on the Raiders.
Yeah, so for me, Jonathan, and the Raiders, man, they're averaging 471 yards per game, and kind of looking up their yardage situation that they've got, it really did surprise me, because I was on the fence with the Raiders, right? But Derek Carr, and the way that he is going so far, obviously he's probably not keeping up with what he's done so far. He's thrown for 1,200 yards. I saw that and I was like, whoa. He's thrown for 1,200 yards already, and they're, like I said, averaging 471 yards per game. I expect both those numbers to take a dip as the season goes on, just for the sake of sample size and longevity. But the Raiders, man, they are a team in the past who, they've had some years where they were, pretty great. They looked really promising. Derek Carr and the Raiders a few years ago were in that spot. Now, I in the past couple seasons, I'd been kind of, writing them off, right, obviously. But now, the way that they're going, if they can keep it up, it's obviously not wholly sustainable, but I do like the Raiders in this situation. And I think that they could be very good and make a run in the playoffs. So the other contender I wanted to talk about was the Arizona Cardinals. Obviously, I've talked about the Rams, so this is my last contender to talk about. But Arizona Cardinals averaging 34 points a game, top 10 in passing and rushing. This is a team that, with Kyler Murray, man, he's looked ridiculous. He is a Madden video game player at its finest. Some of the plays that he makes, I know that there was a play against the Titans a couple weeks ago where he evades the rush and he's running, to his left and makes that throw downfield, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's wide open. Why are we praising this throw?" Kyler Murray is making throws that you think you see it and you're like, why are we praising this throw? And you don't even take the time to look at what happened before the throw. Kyler Murray makes these things look easy. And I think that's the reason some people don't, they discredit Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray and the Cardinals, I think, are the real deal, man.
Yeah, he's a beast, and that's why I have them as contenders, because I think that he's capable of winning a game all by himself basically any week. Like him and D-Hop, don't put it past the Cardinals to put up 35, 40 points on any given week. Last thing that I'll say about the Raiders here. So, yeah, they're getting off to a crazy start offensively, but both the Ravens and the Miami Dolphins so far to start the season are bottom 10 defenses. The Ravens secondary has just been decimated by injuries. So that's really, I need at least like 2 more weeks. If the Raiders keep this up, then I'll bump them up in my contenders. But I don't know. It just seems like I believed in Derek Carr and the Raiders, in the past. And, they've had a lot of injuries, over the last few years, Derek Carr especially. But yeah, I'm just not there yet. I might very well be wrong and they might be contenders, but I'm just not really ready to say that yet. But it's going to be another exciting, week of NFL football. What I'm really bummed about is that we don't get the Manning cast for like another 3 weeks.
Is that right?
Yeah. So I knew coming into the season they were only doing it like 10 or 12, weeks. But yeah, it's the next 3 weeks. They won't be back until week 7.
That's
what did
trash.
you think about the other night, my boy Eli, flipping the double bird?
Flipping the double birds, dude. I might start doing that on the 6-man show, right?
I mean, that's fine. You can't do it on national television, but yeah, he's like, yeah, I guess you can't do that. He's like, a 9-year-old in Philadelphia did it to me, so I thought it was fine.
Well, the thing is, is it a hot take to think that the middle finger's like not that bad? It's just kind of cheeky, right? I get for national television.
If my almost 3 years old comes out, it's like, hey, Dad, check this out. I'm like, that's a no-go in my household. So I will say that's a bad thing. Okay. How would you feel like if your pastor came out on Sunday? I was like, "Yo, what up, y'all? Let's go." Well, how would you feel if Ron came out flipping the double bird?
If Eli Manning was my pastor, we'd let it slide. But so here's where I stand as far as the Manning cast, man.
There are certain things that other people don't find acceptable that you're totally fine with. So I'm
partially joking, Jonathan, but I think that the bird is less offensive than an F-bomb.
Of course.
Or a lot of other cuss words. I think every other cuss word is not.
Yeah, you could definitely find a few that are worse than the bird.
Right,
for sure.
Exactly. So he could have done worse, is what I'm saying.
But don't forget what the bird signifies. It's a very personalized F-bomb.
Right. Well,
that's
exactly
what it's for.
However, whatever. About the Manning cast here, week 1 came around and I was like, they're hilarious, but I wish they would stop cutting away to shots of their studio so much. Like, right. the game would be going on, and they'd have the game in a small box. And I was like, I really hope that this doesn't happen, because I ended up changing the channel to the actual broadcast because I confession, I had money riding in this game, and I don't remember if it was DFS
totally
or a spread or over-under. Regardless, I switched over because I was like, this is ridiculous. Then the very next week, they only basically kept them in their little boxes on the left side of the screen, and it's been much better. So I'm sure someone got, in their production meeting was like, hey guys, let's not do that. So that was my only complaint. Obviously love Peyton and Eli, but now that they've got that fixed, man, I'm pretty pissed that they're not going to do every game every week. I understand they've probably, they're experimenting and they didn't know how it was going to go, so they didn't want to commit to a full season. But I mean, it's been really enjoyable.
I definitely agree. Obviously, I'm a huge Eli Manning fan. Anytime Eli talks, I'm listening. But he was on a Giants podcast this last week. Obviously, everyone knew that they were retiring his number at halftime at this past weekend's game. So they had him on, and obviously they were talking about his Giants career, but they also started to talk about the ESPN Monday Night Football broadcast, and that's exactly what Eli said. He's like, there are a lot of things that happen on the show, and then I'm getting texts, and Peyton's getting texts of, hey, you guys can't do this, you need to do it like that. And he's like, well, what the hell do you mean? Nobody's ever done this. Who are you to say we can or can't do this? But he said we're very much kind of learning as we go each week, and kind of figuring out what works and what doesn't work. One thing that I heard this past week that I hadn't really thought of, because the Giants haven't played on Monday night yet, is if it's a game that I actually have a legit interest in,
Right.
I might go back to the traditional broadcast so that I can hear the play-by-play and kind of the nuances. Like all of a sudden, like Sterling Shepard came out of the game this weekend, and he had like a hamstring issue. That's not something you probably would find out on the Manning cast. You'd have to listen to, like Lisa Salters or whoever it is, the sideline reporter on Monday Night Football, to find out, oh, this guy's out. He's, not coming back to the game and things like that. So, I hope they find a way to integrate some of that stuff into their broadcast, because if we can get more stuff like updates like that, or, maybe sometimes they'll just listen into like the play-by-play to see what those guys are saying. I don't know. Maybe that would add something to the broadcast. Not really sure, but for the most part, I'm really enjoying it. Like they had LeBron on. Like that was like one of the coolest things ever, to hear him, just talk with those guys and just be one of the dudes, just dudes being bros. That was awesome. So yeah, I'm bummed that it's not going to come back for another few weeks. I'm pretty sure it's just supposed to be this season right now. They're going to have to give those guys a hell of an offer to keep doing this in seasons to come, because I think people are going to miss it if they don't bring that back. So.
Yeah, and I think that they've, their guest lineups have been really fun. Pat McAfee was hilarious a couple weeks ago. Cussed a few times on air. They didn't seem to care. So yeah, man, I really do like the Manning cast, and like I said, I'm a little bummed it's not going to be every week of the year.
Yeah. Well, Luke, lucky enough for us, this is the last episode we're going to have to do this year without NBA basketball. There's going to be preseason, although we're going to see the stars in kind of limited action and things like that. Luke is walking away right now, but I'm going to take this as an opportunity to end the show.
Wait, hold on. I want to fess up to
Luke's
something.
Camera just got all kinds of jacked up. He's running away. He's coming back to the camera.
Yeah. And the reason is, this is really for you guys on YouTube. You guys listen to the audio or like, what is going on? I just want to say that I definitely have messed up here, because this light has been set up this whole time, and I haven't had it on.
Nice.
So
very nice.
So there we go, guys. We all make
Show
mistakes.
business.
I had this light turned off. It's in my vision all night, all 40 minutes of this recording. I'm a legend. I understand. Here you go. The last couple minutes, you get to see my bright and shining face.
Well, it's going to be like the last seconds, because I'm literally
2 seconds.
ending the show right now. So for
Perfect.
Luke Sylvia, this has been Jonathan Osborne. Thank you guys for listening to Shoot the Shot, and we will catch you guys next time. See ya.